Good morning, guys. Today we are going to focus on the immune system. And the first thing that we need to talk about when we talk about the immune system is what it is, right? And so if we look in our very top box, it asks us what is the immune system. And the immune system is the system that gets rid of pathogens. And pathogens, this is our fancy science word for viruses, bacteria, anything harmful to our body, right? And this system helps maintain homeostasis by getting rid of these pathogens, right? Maintains homeostasis. And it maintains that homeostasis by using 3 lines of defense to keep pathogens from invading our body, right? So it uses 3 lines of defense to protect the body from pathogens. Right? And some of these things we've already talked about with other systems. So we're going to talk about the first line of defense first. And we're going to use green for this line of defense because this is kind of how our body is always, right? This is a healthy body. This is green means go, right? So in our mouth, think back when we talked about the digestive system. What are some things that maybe in your mouth would help to kill pathogens? Well, we have our saliva. And it has chemicals that can kill pathogens or invaders. Okay? So that's our one of our first lines of defense, our saliva, right? What about our breathing passages? When we talked about the respiratory system, we talked about things like coughing and sneezing that can rid the body of pathogens. We also talked about hairs and mucus in the nose that trap pathogens, right? Now, if we look over here, we also talked about our skin, right? Our integumentary system. We have that sebum, that oil, those oil glands, and those oils on our skin can actually kill some bacteria. Okay? Sometimes even dead skin falling off, right? That's going to make some of that bacteria that's sitting on your skin or viruses fall off of your body. And then over here in our stomach, obviously we know that stomach acid is very strong, and it is strong enough to kill bacteria and other pathogens, right? Now, sometimes our body has to alert a phagocyte, and a phagocyte is a specialized white blood cell that literally engulfs and breaks down a pathogen, right? So this is a special white blood cell that basically swallows a pathogen and breaks it down. Okay, and so this is one way that our body breaks down things that get into our system, right? So this is our first line of defense. This section over here is our green means go. Everything is operating business as usual, right? I'm going to even shade my little guy over here. Green means go. This is just our normal status quo. Now, we have our second line of defense, which is called our inflammatory response. And if you've ever gotten a cold or the flu or a stomach virus, then your inflammatory response has been initiated, right? Your inflammatory response is the body's second line of defense. And I'm going to use yellow for this one because this is kind of like yellow light, right? There's some stuff going on. Our body's got to protect ourselves. And so it's kind of like, whoa, yellow means slow. So our body's kind of slowing down. It's looking at some things a little bit more closely to be able to protect us. When the second line of defense, when that inflammatory response is alerted or initiated, the body actually leaks fluids into nearby tissues. And that fluid is lymphatic fluid, and that lymphatic fluid is carrying white blood cells. And those white blood cells can fight the pathogen. Right? And so this is what allows our body to start protecting itself. And when our inflammatory response is initiated, there's a couple of things that are triggered. One of them is fever, and most of you have probably experienced fever. And fever happens because a warm body temperature makes it difficult for pathogens to survive and reproduce, right? The second thing that happens is that blood vessels get bigger or larger. They get wider. And this happens because this allows more blood to get to the area. This makes you feel warm and maybe even get flushed in the face. And we want to increase blood supply so that more of those white blood cells can help protect your body, right? Now, after this inflammatory response, your body is going to alert your third line of defense. And your third line of defense is like red. That means you are in trouble, right? There is something going on with your body. The immune response has been triggered. And there are two main cells that trigger your immune response. T cells are the first one. This is a white blood cell. That attacks cells and either damages them or it activates B cells. And B cells is the next block. And B cells are very important when it comes to especially viruses because B cells make antibodies. These are white blood cells that make antibodies. And antibodies are specialized proteins that recognize a pathogen and destroy it. It locks onto that pathogen with a special key because antibodies mean that it's recognized that as an invader, something that's bad for our body. Antibodies are created when we take vaccines, right? Vaccines expose our cells to just enough of that pathogen, a not live version of the pathogen, so that our B cells can create an antibody. And once we know an antibody, as soon as the B cell is alerted, it activates and locks onto that pathogen like a puzzle piece, and it destroys it. Because it recognizes it as something that is dangerous. Okay? And the immune response down here at the bottom is able to distinguish or tell the difference between different pathogens. Okay? It reacts to those and destroys them. So we talked about several parts of other systems that I just want to draw your attention to that also act as part of the immune system. So we talked a little bit about the respiratory system, right? We talked about hair and mucus, that trap pathogens as they try and enter the body, right? We also talked about how coughing and sneezing gets pathogens out of the body, right? When you sneeze, it pushes it out really fast, or when you cough, right, it pushes those things out of the body. Okay. In our digestive system, we talked about how we have saliva that has special chemicals that can kill certain types of pathogens, things that are bad for our body. We've also talked about stomach acid that breaks down and kills pathogens. And the last part that we're going to talk about that interacts with our protective immune system is that our circulatory system actually heals our skin, right? So when you have a cut or an injury, a scab is formed. And what do you think that scab does? It protects, with a physical barrier, the body from invasion. So basically, our bodies are like Fort Knox, right? There is a lot going on that helps to protect and keep your body safe on a daily basis. Our first line of defense, you don't even realize anything's happening, right? It's the very first stage of protection, right? This is normal body homeostasis, right? Once we enter inflammatory response, there's no longer homeostasis. So we've lost that homeostasis. And we need to regain it. And when the third line of defense is triggered, this is how our body is responding to that bacteria or that invader, and it is restoring homeostasis. And remember, all of our systems are connected to help protect us from invasion. So I hope that helps you guys understand the immune system. I hope you have a great day.